They had crossed about 3 villages when this servant bid goodbye, saying, "Sir, I cannot. आपके साथ में इसके आगे शादी नहीं जा सकता हूँ." You know. So a little later, this man, the same servant, is in front of them with about 500 people to attack them. Like I said, they would abduct girls. So it happened in one of our distant families that they abducted one of the 15-year-old girl. So now, much later, many years later, some 20, 30 years later, we came to know that that girl, that kid, she became a sex slave of the servant of that Haveli. She abducted her and kept her away. And then this servant becomes the owner of this Haveli and she becomes her slave. Namaskar. I'd like to thank you all to be here today for a subject as sensitive as this, and I'd like to thank Srijan Foundation, though Rahul ji is not here today. What actually I'd like to do is, for a moment, I'd want you all to for the next 40-45 minutes or whatever that we have in hand, I would want you all to, transport yourself into those times. Try to visualize, try to picturize that we are, under a colonial rule. The trauma of those people, our people, the people who suffered that directly. See, most of us today, like the youth generally, I don't really think it's a very relevant, I feel so, I may be wrong. It's not a very relevant subject today, they feel, why talk about it? That today also happens to be the 28th year of the Kashmiri Pandit genocide. Are you aware of that?
Yes.
So, do you really think this topic is irrelevant?
Yes.
Because
Is relevant है तो सुनाइए.
is irrelevant. आपको लगता है कि irrelevant है आज? Like I said, let's travel back into time and let's try to see what really happened, what really transpired in those days. Probably we will, get an idea as to was just the country divided into two? What was it? Just a division, or was it actually, the complete amputation? I would say, or the mutilation of a society, of a culture. This is how I feel. And why me? What is important? Why me? I am no historian. I don't claim to be a historian. I would tell you why I got into this. From the very childhood, I heard these, stories from my family, which I'll be also sharing with you today. And there are about 3 major episodes in the family, 2 on my maternal side and 1 on the paternal side, which I heard all through. There were many such, but I'd share those 3 major ones with you a little later in time in the talk. And meanwhile, we begin with this. Why? Why me? It's like, it constantly contradicted. Whatever stories I heard at home, वो constantly contradict कर रही थी to the history lessons that I was learning in school. And when I would come back home and I would ask, why did we not fight? Why were we not, fighting back? Why were we not resisting somebody ruling us or somebody just coming and walking over our country? So that is what, got me interested into learning histories and trying to research. And fortunately, in the current times, there are a lot of papers, there are a lot of research papers which are available, which weren't there till about a few years ago. And you couldn't come to the roots, the exact position of what must have transpired, what must have happened in those times. So we were here as to why I should be telling these stories. Like I said, I'm not a professional, I'm not an historian, but just because I heard things like these in the family, which provoked me into thinking, and I wish to provoke the same thought into you to be thinking about what really happened to our country, what happened to our nation, and why this happened to our nation. It's just that since I feel that the pride is absolutely missing, the pride of being an Indian is absolutely missing. Say, for example, you look at an Israeli, he never forgets. He never forgets the Holocaust. A Japanese never forgets the bombing, and the nation progresses. But you forget, and you were made to forget. So now, this is, like I said, it's a huge topic, and whatever I've studied and whatever I have learned, I can really share for hours altogether. Without looking into the presentation. The presentation I actually had to be made so that I am, much in control of myself and the time frame that I'm given to speak on, so that I do not miss on anything important, and I just kind of, highlight the points which should be highlighted. Now, as per our the events are concerned, the events regarding these pertaining to these times are concerned. See, this has been happening for centuries, but it kind of, boiled over for, say, 300 years. It was waiting to happen. Some about 300 years it was waiting to happen. And why do we say that? I will come to those, the about 17th century, but just a little thought that from the time they set foot on our land, the very idea that they had in their mind was conversion, Darul Islam. That was the very idea. The first idea that they had was converting it, as they had converted many other civilizations within 15 and 20 years. They had converted the entire, like the Persians, the Turks, they had converted them, and that was the vision. Obviously, they were awestruck looking at the riches of this country, that they also got into looting, but the entire area, the entire idea was basically to convert it as they had done others. But fortunately for us, we fought them for about 800 years, and we are still Hindu today, about 80%. I don't know the figures, maybe a little here and there, but 80% Hindu even today, after fighting 800 years with them and after fighting the British. So, broadly, I will just kind of highlight the turning points that I would call them. You have Shah Waliullah, 17th century, Wahhabi. Now he is a contemporary of Ibn al-Wahhab, who was responsible for the Arabic movement, the Arabic radical movement. This Habib Waliullah invited Abdali to invade India, and he called for all the Nawabs in India to support him. After that, you have this, his son Abdullah Shah Abdul Aziz. Now he appoints one Ahmad Barelvi to preach jihad in the country. And then, following that, you have the 1857 Indian War of Independence, the mutiny, following which all the lands of the zamindars, the Hindu zamindars, were given away to the Muslims who stood by the British. And then, one thing which I'm sure, I would also like to tell you one thing, that when we go through this timeline of events that I'll be talking about after this, you must just write down or note down the events which you feel are absolutely relevant today. You have similar things happening today. So this is going to be forcing you into pondering over the incidents that are happening today. So 1875, this madrasa called Madrasatul Ulum started by Sayyid Ahmad Khan, who's later called Sir Sayyid Ahmad Khan because he stood by the British during the 1857, and which later comes to be called Aligarh Muslim University today. By 1920, it was to be called Aligarh Muslim University. 75 after 75, then we have the partition of Bengal, another major turning point, where the Muslims felt that their dream of converting at least their part of Bengal into Darul Islam, and then the formation of Muslim League in 1906. So I think let's go to the timeline now. 17th century, like I said, he invites Abdali to invade India. And not just him, there are about 34 ulemas who signed a fatwa declaring India as Darul Harb. And Darul Harb, I'm sure you're aware of, is it means the land at war. So you're at war with that land. And then you have the Maulvi of Deoband, also who called it Darul Harb as well as Darul Islam. So it's like Darul Islam, they decide when they want to be at war with you, and they decide when they want to convert you. So they switch to those two. Then you have this Wahhabi's son, Abdul Aziz, who invites Ahmad Barelvi, and he appoints him to preach jihad in the entire country, who forms about an army of about 80 people. He raises funds, he tours the entire country, and he raises an army of about 80,000 radical Muslims too. So you can imagine if that started happening, 80,000 people in 18th century, about 1821, you can imagine that it did not cease, it never ceased, after that. So then you have the 1857 war, like I said, the Indian War of Independence. And after this, the British, they seized the lands of all the zamindars and gave it away to the Muslims who stood by them. Also, they, took another step to bring all the mullahs to their side by saying that there will be no interference in their religious matters. So then, now you have these three Meccans, the three main Maulvis from Mecca, who now do not declare India as, now they declare it as, they kind of say that the fatwa is taken off of it being Darul Harb. No more at war, because they were comfortable with the idea that the British, they are safe, their interests, their religious interests are safe in the hands of the British. Now, this is an important thing, a very, very important event as per our history goes. Now, Sayyid Ahmad Khan, now he forms this madrasa, which is on the formative level of school, and this starts on the day of on the 56th birthday of Queen Elizabeth. He had stood by the British during this War of Independence, 1857, and that is how, with his help, now this is kind of later graduated to college level, and it gets to be called the Aligarh Muslim University by 1920. Also, Jinnah and many others, Muhammad Iqbal, he's largely impressed them. They were very influenced by his policies. So later we come to know that these are also a product of the same university, of the same mental makeup. Now the partition of Bengal, I'm sure you all are aware of. Yes? Now, because there was this rise, the constant rise of the spiritual national movement in Bengal, which really worried the British, and which had its impact in the entire nation. It was reaching entire nation. So Curzon decided to partition Bengal. Now this time, what happens is that these Muslims, their dream comes to, they can feel the dream coming true of India being Darul Islam. So then all these, what do you say, all the abductions of women, the attacks on men, all riots broke loose and they started attacking people, which was like really bad. And I don't think I should be, mentioning again and again that every time a riot breaks, what is it that the Hindus go through? Is going to be major killings of Hindu men, is going to be forced conversions, it's going to be rapes, and it is going to be destruction of properties, is going to be destruction of temples. So this, I do not think I should be repeating again and again, because you will know that every time a riot broke, this is what happened. Now, as a reaction to this, there were mass protests, and Rabindranath Tagore ji with about 50,000 people, they took a vow to have a unified Bengal again. They took a dip in Holy Ganga water mein reke, they decided to fight this war. Now this and with the cries of Vande Mataram, that is when Vande Mataram really became popular, and with cries of Vande Mataram they fought these people back. They made this mantra a potent mantra, because jo latiyan kha British ka, and it becomes a potent mantra. And now the newly formed governor of this province, he is Bamfite Fuller. He treats this as treason, and obviously hell broke loose on the people or on Hindus, and there were mass rapes of Hindu women by the British soldiers. This set aflame the national thing, the national feeling, and Vande Mataram crossed the borders of Bengal, and it became a national war cry for the Hindus. The decision was annulled of the partition of Bengal. Then we have the birth of Muslim League. Now this was formed by an All India Mohammedan Educational Conference. This is also a product of Sayyid Ahmad Khan in Dhaka. The Nawab of Dhaka assists this. He is called Samiullah. He assists this, and this movement takes birth. The Aligarh, the Muslim League is born. Now, Muslim League, through an ishtihar, they call it a Lal Ishtihar. Through this Lal Ishtihar, they called for all the Muslims to boycott all the Hindus. All the Hindu education institutes, anything produced by the Hindus is boycotted. Now, say if you relate it to today's, the present times, आप clearly relate कर सकते हैं. Every now and then you can see these things happening that are, they'll just get up and there's a fatwa and they'll boycott everything Hindu. And Churchill is supposed to be, have pledged to give Jinnah, the partition, or in Pakistan in partition, after the support of the Allied forces. This is when now the riots, like we would say, or attacks on Hindus start happening. So 1907, Dhaka again, like I said. Now the Lathets of this Samiullah, they incited violence, and then again, like I said, mass murders, rapes, loots, and women were like so afraid that they spent time in hiding. Okay, so now you have 1909. You have the Morley Minto reforms. I'm sure you're aware of that. That was a separate electorate for the Muslims. So this again, any guesses like what would a separate electorate do?
Muslim will
Muslim
choose
candidates
their
will win.
representative.
They will vote for their candidates, only the Muslim candidates. So the separate electorate, changed the entire scene. Basically, the Khilafat movement. I'm sure you must be since I have people here who already know history. I can see that. So the Khilafat movement basically was not for us. It was in the defense of the Ottoman Empire, which had nothing to do with India. And these two brothers, the Ali brothers, Muhammad Ali Johar and Shaukat, his brother. Now Muhammad Ali Johar also happens to be the first, one of the founder members of the League. He also happens to be a Congress president for some time. And Maulana Abul Kalam Azad now, the way we are taught, the way we are taught, he is the first education minister. Rest is all understood. Rest is all understood. What we are studying today is all understood. We don't need to talk about it. And he came in contact with Mahatma Gandhi in during this period, during 1920. And he is made the first president of Congress at the age of 35. The first president ever of Congress at the age of 35. And in the independent country, he is made the education minister. He also happens to be a product of the Aligarh Muslim University, Abul Kalam, as well as the Muhammad Ali Johar happens to be of the product of the Aligarh University. Muhammad Ali Johar supposed to have going a little ahead, 1932, in one of the Congress sessions, there was this Vishnu Digambar Paluskar who used to sing Vande Mataram. Since I told you a little while ago that Vande Mataram had now become the war cry, and all the sessions started with a Vande Mataram, the singing of a Vande Mataram, and Vishnu Paluskar has the entire music to him, a school and a lot of books to his credit. He got up to sing the Vande Mataram, and who stopped him? Muhammad Ali Johar stopped him. Told him that you're not supposed to sing. Why? Because it's un-Islamic. Yeah. Obviously, there's an entire story to it. He got up and he howled at him and he told him that this is no mosque and I'm singing it in one of the sessions, and this body doesn't happen to be of a particular religious system. So, and also, if you so object to it, why didn't you object to it at your presidential procession? So, Aligarh, the Khilafat movement happens to be very important. And कमाल की बात यह है कि खिलाफत मूवमेंट पे Gandhi is constantly spreading his protective wings over these two brothers. There are not one but many incidents where he's been spreading his wings onto them, and what he gets in return. One of these times, the Muhammad Ali Johar says that Gandhi happens to be the lower than he may be, however noble he may be, but he happens to be the most than a lowest Muslim would be. So this is what he gets in return. And now you have the Mofla attacks, the riots, you know about it. After the Khilafat movement, these people were communicated that it's been successful. So now India has to be turned into Darul Islam, and the riots broke. And now these, some figures are important in this. Like they slaughtered about 1,500 Hindus. They converted property worth, lost property worth about 3 crore was looted. They converted about 20,000 people. Over 1 lakh people were driven away from their homes. Now this was an organized attack. They had war knives, they had guns, they had swords, all looted from the police stations. They wrecked railroads, they cut telegraph lines, they destroyed bridges, they felled trees, they blocked roads, they dug trenches, and they lay in ambush for the passing troops. And I don't know if I have it here, you can clearly see it here, like say, this is what Gandhi had to say. They are the brave, God-fearing people fighting for the religion in a manner they consider religious. Following this, in 1922, riots broke out in Multan. Again, same, I don't need to say what happened. You have it here, the one that I told you, the quote. However pure Mahatma Gandhi's character may be, according to my religion, he is inferior to any Mussalman, even though he may be of the lowest character. This is what Gandhi gets in return for protecting them all along. Now 22, again during Muharram, the procession, Muharram procession, you have riots happening in Bengal, in Punjab, Amritsar, Lahore, Panipat, Moradabad, Meerut, Allahabad, Saharanpur, Bhagalpur, I mean like Delhi, again 1923. All the Hindu festivals are attacked. Durga Puja, Holi, Ram Leela, all the festivals are attacked. September 1924. Now this is one village in northwest frontier province where Hindus were just about 5%. And out of them, about 155 were butchered. The total population of Hindus, about 3,500, had to seek shelter in Rawalpindi, which is about 320 kilometers away. You can imagine. I have many accounts, like I said, I have got lots of accounts, the stories that I'll be talking to you about. There are accounts where people have traveled just about 100 kilometers in about 3 days, you can imagine. Now, अब ये देखिए, when I tell you कि आप incidents देखिए जो similar है. A Sikh procession passing in front of a mosque is attacked. Happens today also. Now this, I do not know, Swami Shraddhananda, a major force, he was, a major part of the Hindu Sangathan movement, of the Indian independence movement, and who also invited Congress to have a session in 1990 in Amritsar after the Jallianwala massacre. But Congress didn't have the courage to do it, so he presided, Swami Shraddhananda himself presided the session. He also had the guts to stand at the minarets of Delhi Jama Masjid, and from there he addressed a huge gathering of Hindus. He started with the Ved mantras. He is shot dead by this one Abdul Rashid. Yeah, Abdul Rashid is? Yeah, Abdul Rashid in 1926. He's ailing, he's at home, and Abdul Rashid comes to visit him and he asks for a glass of water. And when the attendant goes to get the water, he shoots him 4 shots in his chest. Swami lay dead on the floor. Now again, like I said, similarities. Muslims gather huge funds to support him, fight his case, and there's one Asif Ali of Congress who fights his case. Anyway, finally he is prosecuted and he is hung. A huge gathering of about 50,000 people gathers for his funeral processions. Same, Kashmir, yeah, similar, and namaz padhi jati hai, yeah. Now you have 1930. British used to hold for about 10 years they held experiments on our soldiers. They would experiment on them on mustard gas. They'll be put into gas chambers, they'll go in shorts and cotton shorts, and they'll be kept inside for hours to see the poisonous effect of the gas, and they'll have serious burns. 32, another award was announced which is called Communal Award. Now first we had 99 Morley Monte reform, separate electorates for Muslims. Now we have it for Christians, for Europeans, for Sikh, the Indian Christians, the Anglo-Indians, and the depressed class. Now the depressed class meaning you've shot into the Hindu itself. So the Hindu itself has a divide now because you have a separate electorate for also the depressed class. So you can again see the repercussions and you can see the results today of what came of that. As a result of also Mumbai was, Sindh was separated from Mumbai, and Sindh came under the League Assembly. Now lots of Hindus had the bodies or the organizations had pleaded to Mahatma Gandhi to separate this or to stop this, but Congress had already accepted in their 31 I think 1931 session, they had already accepted the Karachi session it was, the Muslim demands of right of minority to protect, develop its language, script, culture and education. Are you aware of how did the word Pakistan come into being? Was it Jinnah around 40s or was it much earlier? There's this one Rahmat Ali, and three students from the Cambridge Muslim, came from the Cambridge. They floated this word Pakistan, as to P stands for Punjab and A for Afghanistan, K for Kashmir, S for Sindh, and Tan for Balochistan. And they circulated a pamphlet which said now or never, in which they had 7 commandments. This Rahmat Ali had 7 commandments for the Muslims, and he also kind of labeled India as Diniya, meaning unke deen ka ek part. So there will be like these 7 commandments, like you avoid minoritism, meaning wahi se chala raha hai. They are kind of stamping into or rubbing into their minds or inculcate into their system. That it's there in their system. So avoid minoritism, avow nationalism, acquire proportional territory, which you can clearly see today, consolidate the individual nations, and convert India into Diniya. 16th August, Direct Action Day, when League announced Muhammad Ali Jinnah. He said, we'll either have divided India or we'll have a destroyed India. And now the best part is, the Ramzan was chosen for this day. Why was Ramzan chosen for this?
16th day of Ramzan.
17th day of Ramzan. The Battle of Badr, the first battle that the Prophet had won again in Mecca. So this is like establishing Darul Islam, yes, the Ghazwa or the first battle. So they were to incite or to invoke or to provoke the Muslims' feeling of that same jihad. This day was decided. Now for this day, 16th March started with the cries saying "Ladke lenge Hindustan," kuch "Ladke lenge Hindustan." Yeah. Now these mobs, led by Hussain Surawardi, over 1 lakh. Over 1 lakh people, Muslims, were mobilized with firearms, weapons, petrol coupons, though you had rations in those times and there was a shortage of petrol. Now these were all supplied to these people for attacking the Hindus of Calcutta. 1 month of food and rations were drawn in advance. Namazes were offered for a Muslim-free India. Now, the mayor of Calcutta, Sharif Khan, he guided the mobs in Howrah. 22 out of 24 police headquarters, Hindu officers were replaced by the Muslims. आप गाइड भी करते हैं और आप उनको रिप्लेस भी कर देते हैं by Muslim officers, and uninterrupted, without any hindrance. This goes on for 2 days. And on what scale? It was the scale of remnants of the Islamic invasion by barbarism. About 10,000 died in Calcutta alone, 15,000 injured, 1 lakh homeless. Now the wailing of Hindus is falling on what? On Governor Burroughs' deaf ears. Now the best part is, the Hindus, the Marwadis, or the Hindus, the moment they realize that if we do not get up and fight now, if we do not defend ourselves now, we are finished. So the Marwadis, they put in the money, they gathered, they sat with these iron smiths and they got spears and swords and various daggers and stuff like that created, weapons created. And also bought, they spent their money, they also bought arms from the American soldiers. Now, I'm sure you must be aware of Gopal Mukhopadhyay, and there was this one wrestler called Basanta. And now these Hindus who had got, Biharis, they got back harrowing stories. So these, the Dalits, so-called all the other classes, these put together struck hard, struck the Muslims so hard that they reversed the tide totally. This wakes up the British, okay? This wakes up the British, and they and also wakes up Gandhi, and they stop our people from doing this. They stop our people, and immediately, arrests start happening, and whatever is required to stop our people from. And the best part is, what happened. The accounts of it where Hindus have actually gone, helped, house these people, the Muslim, what do you call? जिन पे attack हुए, yeah, the affected people who are affected, the victims. So they help them, they house them, they feed them, they tend their wounds. That's what we did, yeah. In spite of that, and I'm almost coming to my family part now. But then again, 46 ka, like I said, repercussions of it, then it started. Then it started all over the country, yeah. 10th October, Noakhali mein start hua. Again, Lakshmi Puja ke din start hua. Then there's this one, October 11th, there's this one Ghulam Sarwar. Uska ek fauj tha, जैसे कहते थे Mayar Fauj. So this fauj attacks and surrounds the house of this Hindu Mahasabha leader Rajendra Lal Rai Chaudhary. 2 days they are resisting, they are fighting, and then finally they behead him, and his beheaded head is sent on a platter to this Ghulam Sarwar, whose army it was. The head is cut and sent in a platter to this Ghulam Sarwar. Rajendra Chaudhary's two little daughters, are sent to his governors. What Qasim did to Raja Dahi's daughters. The scheduled tribes, the scheduled castes of Hindu Ramganj, around the Ramganj police station are attacked. Now, Noakhali houses were attacked, they were looted, they were burnt. You have in this, they just threw gasoline on them and they burnt them alive. Villages after villages were forcibly converted, and all the converts were forced, all the men were forced to wear skull caps, they were forced to keep a beard, the women were forced to read namaz, Maulvis would go to their houses to teach them namaz. And there was this another small island called Swandip. I have it here. Yeah? Yeah. So here the petrol is imported. It was a remote place, so they didn't have any motor cars. Petrol was imported from the mainlands, and the houses were burnt. Here also you have obviously revolutionaries dying everywhere. Wherever you have them, defending the Hindus, you have them dying everywhere. 24th of November, Hindus decided to call it a Daag Diwali. In Chapra, there is this one Muslim leader who says, "Rejoice, illuminating Hindu houses." He calls for that. You can imagine, like I told you in the beginning, although I was, a little unsettled then, so were my slides. But I told you in the beginning, I don't want you to come, transport yourself. Just go back into time and try to feel those times. Try to feel the trauma the people must have gone through those times. And around this time, also like they say, when the repercussions or the retaliation mein, jo Hindus wreaked, vengeance on the Muslims. There are also like major accounts wherever you study or read in history, you don't find these certain fine details. Whereas because the Biharis were bringing back these harrowing tales, and people were meeting, the Hindus were meeting and discussing and talking. There was this one Muslim house who had a girl from Calcutta who had abducted a Hindu girl from Calcutta. She was housed. So these people were trying to persuade him to leave the girl. And little do they know that he vanished with that girl. And hell broke loose, and these guys lost their control. All the Hindus lost control, and they wreaked vengeance totally on the Muslims after that. Now, coming to Rawalpindi, 47, it started in Rawalpindi. March itself, yeah. March itself, you have this, the students, the Hindu and Sikh students. Rawalpindi, as you know, was a rich place, largely populated by Hindus, Sikhs, all the entire province, and people were like really well off moneyed, and Hindus. And then these Sikh and Hindu students took out a procession which was attacked by the League people, and the police also fired on them. And then there was this Peer of Golra Sharif who incited, called for a jihad again. And they say that all the weapons were supplied from the northwest frontier province, and they say the money was sent by some politician in Delhi, and the rioters were paid according to the Hindu casualties or the Hindu attacks. The number of Hindus would be cut; they'd be paid accordingly. Now this stopped, for weeks. This carried on non-stop. And quickly, I'd like to just tell you about a few of these places. By the end of March, all the Hindus were settled in refugee camps all over Punjab, Jhelum. There was this one village called Thawa Khalsa, which is quite popular, although I don't know if you read about it. This was a largely Sikh village, which they have also, I think, shown this in the film, the serial called Tamas. Yeah, they mentioned that. So there's this largely Sikh village with a little Hindu population, and these writers, when they surrounded the village, and these people were the Hindus and the Sikhs. I wouldn't call it Sikh and Hindu again and again, it's better that I say Hindu. So the Hindus resisted them for constantly over 6 days, and then they gathered money. They collected about 20,000 rupees and gave to the writers. And the writers, promised that they'll let them pass. They'll not touch their women. They'll not touch their men. They'll not, go for any killings or destroy their properties or anything. So these people gave them a safe passage. But then all the Hindus gathered and they collected in one haveli, which was Gulab Singh's haveli. And there was a Gurdwara next to it, so they all settled there. But within no time, like I said, these people again gathered. The Muslims, surrounded them from all the sides, and the Hindu men now, the Sikh, they had no option but to fight. And the moment they decided that they will have to fight to the last man. Now these are the stories which I've heard personally, and these are in books as well as much more than that in personal accounts. I've heard more details, but I would just tell you a little bit about them. Like most of these men, they gathered their women on the terrace. The young girls, 12, 13, 17, and the fathers kind of just, hugged them. They came and they said, the children knew it. The daughters knew it, the women knew it. So about 23 girls, the fathers or the brothers slaughtered about 23, 25 girls. And the men went to fight and they died, all to the last they died. Now whatever women and little boys were left with little babies, they immediately decided that, we're not getting into their hands, and immediately they all, ran towards the well, which you've seen in the years. So all 93 of them jumped into the well. And there's probably about 20 or something who couldn't die because they couldn't drown. Some of them just came up, they couldn't drown. So this is what happened, and Mountbatten visits it, and bodies are taken out and all that. It's like you can, some other time maybe, because like I said, I'm running short on time. So this is what happened there. There was another, you can see, I think here where the last quote here, on this village of Kathua. It's there in the Larry Collins book, Freedom at Midnight also. He quotes it, that they fell on them like a wolf pack, setting fire to Hindu Sikh houses with buckets of gasoline. Families screaming pitifully for help were consumed by the flames. Who escaped were caught, tied together, soaked with gasoline, burnt alive. Now comes the day when the Mountbatten's plan is accepted. India was faced with two alternatives. We could have avoided that. There was no need, there was no hurry. And like you see Purushottam Das Tandon, he got up, he gave this speech, which is a very important, very prominent thing, which never came into public dominion. I am sure most people haven't heard of it. He said the Nehru government is unnerved with terror tactics of the Muslim League. Acceptance of partition would be an act of betrayal and surrender. Let us rather suffer the British rule a little longer than sacrifice our cherished goal of united India. Let us gird up our lions to fight, if need be, both the British and the League, and safeguard the integrity of the country. It could have been done. We could have just fought a little further, a little more. We've been fighting for years, we could have just fought a little more. Now, rejecting the Mountbatten plan, we could have got a unified country with minimum bloodshed anyway, because anyway we had a lot of bloodshed. So, as a child, when I always heard, in school we were made together for 2 minutes, de di hame azadi bina khadak bina dal. Ghar aake pucho, mere ghar mein, if I heard so many stories, these many died here, those many died there, these many killed, bina khadak bina dal kidhar hua?
Ban laga dena chahiye.
Kidhar hua? I mean, it was not just even the revolutionaries, it was the common people, millions of them. And from here, I will quickly come to the stories of my family. They are huge, but I would try to make it a little short. Now, March, like I told you, March mein Rawalpindi mein dange shuru ho gaye. My Nana happened to be the station master in Rawalpindi. There would be meetings of Hindus like you'll have riots here, you'll have riots there, and these women would, there used to be this one concept of a Sanja Chulha. I don't know if Punjabis would be aware of it. I do not know if others are. They would normally have a community meal together somewhere on the chowk, where people would gather, because और कोई तो medium था नहीं, there was no Twitter, there was no social media. How would they meet? How would they communicate? How would they discuss? So they would just sit there together, and women would, kind of cook meals. They would eat meals together, or people would take their food back and eat. But men would, sit there together, discuss. So they were discussing all the time as to what will happen. Now there was this one beautiful thing as to most of the people there, Hindus again, like I said, I wouldn't say Punjabis, I would say Hindus, had this unwritten code of conduct that they will either die or fight together, but they would not abandon each other. So people, whether they knew each other or whether they did not, they just stood by each other. Something that we require today very badly. They just stood by each other, even without knowing anybody. So they would gather there, and men would collect, these country-made pistols. Boys would collect kattas. Yeah, and gunpowder they would collect. I wouldn't want to name the revolutionaries who were, you search it, you will get it, who were involved in supplying the gunpowder, which had a tendency to get a little moist. So they used to, after the chula is put down, they would put it around that and then dry the gunpowder. So this is where, when all these things were happening, like most people thought, my Nana also thought that things will be alright within no time. Now the best part is that you decide a partition in May. You announce the partition is supposed to happen in 48. You bring it almost a year, you said so many months before. You just give it 6 weeks for preparations. You do not decide a line of. You do not decide the line of partition. You do not decide who's going to be going where. So people are absolutely clueless. Now the line of partition also is divided 2 days after the independence, declared 2 days after the independence. So people really do not know where to go. One, all the zamindars with their money or whatever belongings that they had, kisko bechenge? Firstly, each one is sailing in the similar boat. Two, where will they get the money? How will they do? What will they move and to? Which side would they move it? If at all they have to move. My nani, my mother was just about 8 months old, and she had 4 daughters older, the oldest being 15. and she had two elder sons. In the Rawalpindi student processions that I talked to you about in March 47, my mama happened to be a part of that procession, the students' procession. And when he came home beaten with lathis and all, my nani was really afraid. She was like really upset and she didn't know, and she said, no, I must leave. And hearing about the abduction of daughters, and also one more thing was happening, that these people, the writers, they used to mark the houses because the locals, they knew it. They used to mark the houses where there were young girls, they used to mark the houses where there were pretty girls. So she was really afraid, and this woman, she was like really courageous, and she tells her husband that I must leave. And he is like, like all of the men, tumko samajh mein nahi aata hai, wait, things will be alright, I'm there, things will be alright. But she, the mother of 5 daughters, was like, she said no. And one fine day, without telling her husband, she gathers her 5 daughters, and this was on the 21st of July, before the partition. See, she picks up her daughters and she takes a train to India, this part of the country, I mean now India. She reaches Jalandhar, where my mama was already posted. She comes to him, and she's here with these children now. My mama now, these 2 elder mamas, one who had participated in the rally and one who was already here. And these 2 used to, all boys in fact, all men, used to travel to all the refugee camps at Lona Shuru ho gaye the. So every day they used to go to refugee camps. Families used to cook food, meals, whatever, tend to the wounds of the people, help them, support them, find people. Every day people used to go. So my mamas had these routines. And now what happens? She is here in July. August, your India's country is partitioned, and 2 days later the line is declared. Now she knows it, what she's left behind. Now she knows it, she's left her husband behind, and she doesn't know what to do. And with the trains coming, with all people cut, or you will have blood flowing from under the doors of the bogies, and they'll be going and getting these bodies, people, these boys. So she now wanted to go back to get her husband, and she's telling my mama that you have to come with me or you have to go. So they try to tell her, you with 5, my mother with 5 daughters, how do we leave you and go? We do not know how safe we are here also. You're a refugee, you've come with a stamp. You're a refugee, you're a penniless beggar. Here, where do I go? Where do I leave you? What will you do if I also do not come back? One day, when these men have gone, my mamas have gone to the camps, this woman picks up my mother, just a 10-month-old baby, and she leaves. And she left. And she had the guts to leave, and she crossed over and she went to Pakistan. What is now Pakistan? And nobody knows it. Boys, when they come back home, and they're crying. And every day these girls are sitting there, and 3 months there was no sign of her. 3 months. And when she reached Rawalpindi, she couldn't find him. She couldn't find him. Her house was already looted, set on fire. She had nothing. And she was just hiding here and there, whatever Hindus they were gathering together, hiding entire night with this little girl in her hand. And she doesn't know what to do, and somehow, I don't know, as luck could have it, she found him. And since he was in the railways, and with the help of military, our army, hats off to them, in a convoy, she came back. She comes back and the family meets. Now, there's my mom's Masi, meaning my Nani's sister, who's also married somewhere around that area, Rawalpindi. So when these people were planning to come before that, like I said, when they used to have these community meals and all, they used to meet. So she used to meet and they would, relate and they would talk as to what's happening. And so that family didn't decide to move, her family. My Masi's, her name was Mena. So my Mena Nani for me, Masi for mommy. So she used to, they decided, she was full-time pregnant. So they decided to move out after the partition, after the decision. And after the lines were demarked and the country was divided. So she moved and she they boarded a train, the entire family, and you know the entire story. Then what happens? You have the mob, they stop the train, they attack the train, and she sees everybody die in front of her own eyes. Everybody is slaughtered, her husband, her father-in-law, her brother-in-law, everybody is just cut. And those days, these people, she fainted. She fainted and she fell under the pile of dead.
She was pregnant.
She was pregnant. She was full-time pregnant, and she fainted and she fell under the the pile of dead. And these people used to stop the train when they used to massacre people. They used to, they felt that somebody could have been alive or something with a wound, so they pick them up and throw them into the water, jail them. And zinda hai to upar aayega 2 minute mein. They'll wait. So my Mena Masi's brother-in-law, younger brother-in-law, Devar, he was alive. When he was thrown into the water, he came out alive. Now he's caught. Now what is the fate of these people who are caught? You become a part of them. कलमा पढ़ोगे, मुसलमान बनोगे, और हमारे साथ घूमोगे to kill. This is what they have done from the very beginning. You see, in Arabia also, the moment you convert the pre-Islamic Arabs, they become as bloodthirsty as you are. Then the Islamic Arabs attack Persia. The moment you convert the Persians also become as bloodthirsty as you, and this is how it goes on. So now my uncle, my Masi's brother-in-law, he was with them for about over 4 months or something.
Was your Nani's sister? She wasn't.
I'm just coming to that. So now he was with them, and he was, slaughtering people. 4 months he was with them, and we lost him just about 3-4 years ago. So till date, I have his recordings, and sometime if I have, like I said, I'm a little more organized, I'm a little settled with myself on this subject, I'll probably, come up with those recordings as well. I have some recordings of many other people too. So then he finally managed to escape. Now one of these refugee camps, my Nani, coming to that, my Nani's sister, Mena Masi, she was found in the refugee camp because they must have removed the dead and they found her alive, and she was found in one of the refugee camps. My mama has found her. She'd obviously lost the child, and much later, many months later, her brother-in-law was also found in one of the refugee camps, and they are brought together, and then my Nani decides to get them married. So, get her married to the brother-in-law. Yeah. So now they are in Delhi, somewhere in Delhi. So probably if we have some other session, I'll have those boys, come, my cousins. So
My mother was also 5 months pregnant with me.
Oh, wow.
And then she had to stay back. We finally came only in December 47. It was 47.
Oh.
December. In August, she was 5 months pregnant with me.
So this happened on my maternal side. Coming to the paternal side, my dad. Now these were at a place called Rasool Mandi in Pakistan, which happens to be near the salt ranges, and there used to be those, the Jat, the Khokar tribes. So I come from that family. The Khokar Jats, anyway, so coming to this, because that is too ancient, we don't need to get into that. So they were zamindars, and they had these, they were intelligent, obviously, paisa bhi hai, lands hai, itna sab kuch hai, and then they would disturbance tha, to people, like I said, some people were moving, some people were kind of sticking and staying together. So around February, March itself, my Dadaji, with my eldest uncle, my dad about 4 years, and one older brother about 6 years. He had one daughter married here in Delhi. So and he had one son here also working in, and my one uncle working in the army. What was that? MES. Yeah, he was working in the MES, and so he thought that it will be safer to have the small boys left here. So the 1-4 and 1-6 were left here, and Dadaji like he went back to this his place. And obviously they were concerned about all their lands and all their money, and they didn't know what to do. And in those days, most of that entire area was, all the Hindus were like landowners and either businessmen or whatever. And you had a little population of the Muslims which were generally working in the fields, and so they, among the trusted people, they one fine day after the partition happened, they decided that they have to leave. So they kind of, like you must have heard stories like that, I'm sure, sir, you'll know. They would, kind of dig and, put in their jewels or money or whatever, dig in somewhere, and they would have somebody to take care of their properties. So they're one of the trustworthy Muslim servants. They put in to take care of certain of their property or the land, the houses, the haveli or whatever. And he guarded with him that servant and some more, a handful. They set for this part of the country, and they had to cross some about 4 or 5 villages to reach. And like I said, in those days, it would be like an endless walk. It would be like days of walk, and the people would go in, groups, huge groups of like millions of people all together, and they'll be on the way, obviously attacked. On the way also they'll be attacked by these hordes, and the atrocities on women, I shouldn't be talking on them. I shouldn't be talking on them. I cannot even utter it, it cannot be written, it cannot be spoken as to what happened to those girls and how they were treated. I would just give you one little tiny this thing, thoda sa idea dene ke liye. Like I said, they would abduct girls. So it happened in one of our distant families that they abducted one of the 15-year-old girl. And when the family had to move, there was no option, and when you have to move, but you can't find the girl, the mother doesn't want to leave. The people don't want to leave, but then the men or the people would be generally in joint families, but they'd want them to move because for that one girl you cannot, they say mil jayegi baad mein, dhoond lenge, let's go times.
नहीं तो सब मर जाएंगे.
नहीं तो सब मर जाएंगे, so that we have to move. So now, much later, many years later, some 20-30 years later, we came to know that girl, that kid, she became a sex slave of the servant of that haveli. See, he abducted her and kept her away. And then this servant becomes the owner of this haveli and she becomes her slave.
This all is very well depicted in Amrita Pritam's Pinjar.
Okay.
If anybody has not watched, please do watch Pinjar. That truly depicts all this woman angle, you see.
So this is just one little thing I'm telling you, and there are like many other such incidents. Anyway, when this family, my father's family, when they set on foot and when they were moving, they had about 2 guns on themselves, one with my Dadaji and one with my Tayaji. The elder Tayaji was about 22 at that time, 21, 22 at that time. And they had crossed about 3 villages when this servant bid goodbye, saying, "Sir, I cannot, आपके साथ में इसके आगे शादी नहीं जा सकता हूँ." So a little later, this man, the same servant, is in front of them with about 500 people to attack them. He knew what they are carrying. He knew the money they are carrying. He knew the girls and the women they are carrying. 2 of my boys, 115 and 113, ran, and again they jumped into a well. And my Dadaji immediately, वो आँखों से जैसे जो भी describe किया उन्होंने मुझे बचपन से डैडी ने, they said कि वो आँखों से decide, कर लिया कि लड़ो, मरना है, so you would have the guns which you will be loading again and again. और वो सामने से तलवारें लेके भाग रहे हैं, तो आप कब तक लड़ सकते हो? So they shot whatever fires, जितने भी rounds fire कर सकते होंगे, and Dadaji shot himself. And now there were some little kids, there were some women, there were whatever people, some older people. My Tayaji slaughtered 23 people in the family.
Including his own
Including his own mother. He cut throat of 23 people and he jumped into the jail. And for about 13 days he was swimming in the jail and he came on the Indian side of Kashmir. So I really do not know, like I said, this is my first address with a subject as sensitive as this, a subject which is absolutely fresh as it was then with my family or many families who've undergone this. It may be a little fainter with us because we haven't seen it, the second generation, but absolutely irrelevant to the coming to the modern present generation, to the youth. And here I would, there's some pictures, there are many. Who do you hold responsible?
Mahatma Gandhi.
Yes.
Not just him. The league which played its cards the best. The British.
He alone could have stopped.
The British, and then come your Congress. Yeah, the tired old people who just succumbed, who couldn't do anything about it, who couldn't take a decision. What did we lose? Just check. Check, this is important. What did we lose? 8,82,000 square kilometer of territory, the size of UK and France combined. 47 lakh or more penniless Hindus displaced, stamped as refugees. About 20 to 32 lakh killed. कमाल की बात यह है कि remnants of League stayed back. They joined Congress, they joined Communist Party to continue with their malicious Islamic design. You can see prevalent even today. Organizations like Jamaat-e-Islami, Muslim League, I think 80s में कहीं बंद हुआ, 82s or something. Yeah.
नाम चेंज हुआ है बस.
Yeah, नाम change हुआ है. Yeah. Now, what happened as a generation? Was it just a territory divide? Or was it the divide or the mutilation of our society, of our culture, of our civilization, of our civilizations? Our will, our fighting will was weakened. Absolutely weakened. Our faith is constantly eroded. It was being eroded then, is being eroded today. Okay? And we were maneuvered in a way to change our dharmic identity, our cultural identity, which we are still doing. For whom? जिनके लिए हम कर रहे हैं, for whom we are changing it. Those people, they were our own flesh and blood once upon a time. They changed at the point of sword. They demanded a land. We gave it away. We changed. People made us change. We changed. We changed. We say, जो present आपका vision है, वो क्या है? Intellectuals का या elite का या youth का vision क्या है? We are a multiracial dharamshala. Secular.
Have fun, whatever way.
Secular dharamshala where just anybody can walk and सब धर्म एक ही तो सिखाते हैं. सर्व धर्म समाभार. No.
गंगा जमुना तहजीब.
अभी तक रोएंगे आज.
उसको धर्म की संज्ञा दे दी एक बहुत.
Yes, ठीक है. अब आप ये देखिए कि जिसके लिए हमने ये जगह छोड़ी, हमने अपने आप को काटा. We tore ourselves apart. Those people have not budged an inch from their ideology. Till date, they will not say Vande Mataram. उन्होंने तब नहीं बोला, उन्होंने आज नहीं बोला, उन्होंने तब जय हिंद नहीं बोला, उन्होंने आज नहीं बोला. And here is where I ended. I'll leave a little few things for you to read if you wish to. Congress failed us, accepted the Mountbatten Plan, Boundary Commission, one boundary commission for both Bengal and Punjab was accepted. One-man commission was accepted instead of three-man commission. They accepted a man who had never seen India. He just comes into India and he's worked as a junior counsel of Jinnah. He has nothing to his credit, and you accept him to divide a country. And you say what A.N. Bali has to say for him. And then this is one important point. 31 में इन्होंने सेंसस को बाइकआउट किया था. ओके 31 में सेंसस को बाइकआउट किया था, इनोमिनेट नहीं करने बोला था हिंदुओं को. एंड contrary to that, the Muslims had enumerated fully. So this was a major, division lines draw करने के लिए it played a very crucial this thing. The Muslims moved out of choice. If you could, आप at least please आप इधर से कुछ और कैरी करके भले ना ले जाएं. मैं चाहती हूँ आप ये जरूर ले जाएं. आप जितनी भी दरगाहों पे जाते हैं, पैसा चढ़ाते हैं, चादरें चढ़ाते हैं, अमीर खुसरो जिसको आप इतना सेलिब्रेट करते हैं, आप एक बार पढ़िए तो what does he have to say? Just read once. Heroism of our holy warriors has saturated entire Bharatvarsha with blood flowing from sword of Islam. Clouds of infidelity are dispersed. Mighty warriors of Hindus have been trampled underfoot. If Hanfi court hadn't saved them by levying jizya, they would have been finished root and branch.
उसका म्यूजियम बना दिया.
ये आप you should, some of the people that you read and study, your people read and study. While what Iqbal has to, I would just one interesting thing I would like to tell you about Iqbal here. सारे जहां से अच्छा हिंदुस्तान हमारा. He writes in 905. By 910, he shows his true colors. He writes, सारे मुस्लिम हैं हम, वतन है सारा जहां हमारा. चीनो अरब हमारा, हिंदुस्तान हमारा. तेगों के साए में, तेगे मैंने तलवारें, तेगों के साए में पलकर जवां हुए हैं, खंजर अदाल का है कौमी निशान हमारा.
One question that I want to ask, a little personal. You mentioned about your granduncle who was taken by them for 4 months, etc. So after that, how did he escape that? Like, if you have any
actually, like I told you that my this side, like my Nana's side, he was a station master in Rawalpindi. Obviously, they'll have people. There were some Hindus who stayed back. I mean, who couldn't come for whatever reason, who couldn't come. And you know what's happened to them today. So, kidhar some support and some this thing in railways here and there. He was constantly trying to get in touch with people, and I would personally also ask him questions like those. Aapne bhi mara? Aapne kitne Hinduon ko mara? You know, I would ask him. So he would say, like he wouldn't answer that. He wouldn't answer that. I do not know what must have transpired. I do not know what he must have done. I feel that most of the people, most of the present generation lacks a lot of information. A lot of, they're not connected to the roots, they're not grounded, and they can be easily swayed. So I have personally done it. Lots of people from that left mental makeup also, I have brought into the right this thing, and I've seen to it that they've changed. I have tried it. So what I'm saying is, like, overall, personally, I may be wrong. Personally, I feel that it's not here. It's not started somewhere in 40s or 30s or the 19th century. This starts at the 15th. So someday we talk about that. This starts at the system, the way our education or everything was assaulted. We know it all, and we, like you said, of course, it's a very good this thing that we must research. But the entire idea is that why this topic also, like we said, it's irrelevant today. No, it is not irrelevant, because like I reminded you in the very beginning, today is the 28th anniversary of the Kashmiri Pandit genocide. अगर आप ये भी याद नहीं रखेंगे तो आप फिर और हर 20 साल 10 साल में तैयार रहिए. और you're not trained to fight. You're not trained to at the age of 2 slaughter a lamb that you feed for a month. You're not trained to do that. Your child at 20 also cannot cut an onion. So I'm sorry. My request is, आप यहाँ से जब जाएं, like आपने कहा, रिसर्च करिए, जाएं, आप इसको जिंदा करिए, अपने घर जाकर के जिंदा करिए, अपने लोगों में जिंदा करिए. Like जैसे जापान याद रखता है, they are progressive, they take pride in their country, they remember what happened to them and they progressed. Never forget. My experience or my feeling is, or my quote is that your tomorrow is born out of the womb of your yesterday. True. Roots, bonsai, root काट दो. This is what we've become. So I do not, I won't take our time. But like I said, the thought or in a nutshell, I would say just this, कि when I see people, bad bodies, bad human bodies, like, as in short, thin, bad postures, ill health, even that worries me. Because I have studied of the republics, the Janpadas, who would make sure that their races are fit, that the right of choosing your spouse also would rely on the republic, on the people who would decide who is fit for whom, compatibility. आपने सब कुछ खत्म कर दिया, आपने ये रेस को खत्म कर दिया, आपने उसकी इंटेलिजेंस खत्म कर दी. I'm not saying खत्म हो गई, there's still hope. अगर hope नहीं होती तो 80% हिंदू नहीं होते. And that is the biggest hope.
I think पिछले 4 साल में फर्क पड़ा है and
Yes.
थोड़ा सा जागरण हुआ है.
Definitely. Thank you so much. Thank you.